steps are cool at dawn. Olive leaves still hold the night. Smoke is curling slow and thin. Names I whisper to the light. Sing, oh, sing to the stones and sky. Let the old words rise. Let the old words rise. Feet on earth and eyes held high.
That's buckets. We're going to continue our journey with kings and generals. How Rome conquered Greece. This is going to be part 4. The last part you saw the end basically of Macedon. Like a really disappointing end, honestly. Like Philip V is just an idiot. So yeah, pretty sad. But we are going to see another big player. A man who has an empire, a massive empire. We are going to see the Seleucid Empire and its head honcho. Because Rome kind of decided to piss them off by being pretty rude and like obnoxious to them and stuff like that. So I'm pretty curious to see like where is this going to go. So yeah, and I have a feeling that it's going to be quite interesting after I saw what this part of the whole video is called. So yeah, pretty interesting. Let's get started.
Not to attempt a crossing into Greece. Now we need to follow the admonished envoys back east, where they informed their sovereign, Antiochus III, of the Roman demands. While Rome and Macedon were fighting at Cynoscephalae, Antiochus, who was also known as the Great, was concluding the 5th Syrian War against his traditional rival, the...
Really? He was also called the Great. There's a lot of greats in history, honestly.
Ptolemies of Egypt. By the last year of the conflict, the realm that was created by the Diadochi of Alexander, Seleucus, became the biggest empire of its time, taking over Caria, Lycia, Cilicia, Coele-Syria, and other Asiatic holdings of the Ptolemies. So it is not a surprise that Antiochus, who was considered one of the best commanders of the era, was angry at the Roman intrusion into Greek affairs and the rebuke of his diplomats, and
oh, that's wild. Huh, didn't know that. It's funny, you never actually hear much about the Seleucid Empire, the Seleucid Empire. I never heard about it until I started this Kings and Generals video.
was confident in his strength. In this period, Antiochus started creating a fleet off the coast of southern Asia Minor, probably planning to invade Ephesus, Egypt. However, his fleet's movement to the west...
It's so weird to see that Egypt has territory all the way up here. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
prompted a reaction from Rhodes. The small island wasn't strong enough to compete with the Seleucids on the land, but had a dominant navy, so Antiochus promised to leave Halicarnassus to the Rhodians and not create a base on Samos in exchange for free passage of his navy through Rhodian waters.
okay.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
With a war avoided, in 196 BC, Antiochus took over the remainder of the Ptolemaic holdings in Asia Minor, including the crucial Ephesus. He then decided to conquer the territory of the weakened Macedon, and took Abydos and Ilium, which meant that he now had a perfect location to cross the Hellespont. The citizens of nearby Lampsacus were worried that they were next, and in a sign of how things had changed in the last decade,
They went to the Romans. Oh no. Because Philip is licking his wounds like the loser he is.
sent envoys to the Romans asking for protection.
Honestly, who sends half their army to battle and then just the other one can just keep follow us? Like, no, Philip is an idiot.
At that point in time, the cities in the area were under Thracian control, and Antiochus obviously knew that restoring Hellenic rule would be seen favourably by the Greeks. So he traversed the Hellespont, first taking Chersonesos and then besieging Maditos. The fall of the latter forced other cities to submit, and Antiochus increased his influence by rebuilding the city of Lysimachia, which effectively bottled up the Gallipoli Peninsula. This might have impressed some of the Greeks, but the Romans weren't amused, deciding that
I bet.
Antiochus's takeover of
Yeah, I kind of feel like we are in a time period of like like the kind of rule, right? Like a ruling system where it's not really about conquest as much as it's about soft power. So from what we are kind of seeing in this time period with Rome is they don't really conquer. They just leave some influence and their friendship, like soft power to like control the area. But the Greeks are more like, at least Philip, the Macedonians were like, we are just going to conquer, we're going to take this area, and we're going to make our territories bigger. But Antiochus kind of does the same thing as the Romans here, which is soft power. He doesn't really conquer, he gives territory back to the Greeks and gain influence. It's pretty smart because you don't really have to sacrifice that many resources to keep those territories, but you can influence them by getting taxes, you can get access to resources and stuff like that. So it's pretty smart.
Gallipoli was a breach of the ultimatum. Roman politics was dominated by two men, the victor of Cynocephaly, Titus Quinctius Flamininus, and the hero of the war against Carthage, Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus.
My man! Yo! He's still alive? Nice!
The latter wanted to move troops into Greece immediately, but the peace party, led by Flamininus, prevailed. So the Republic sent a diplomatic mission to Lysimachus.
Wait, so Flamininus, the hot-tempered guy who wanted to pick a fight no matter what, is part of a peace party. Interesting.
Machia, demanding that Antiochus leave Europe and return the Ptolemies their lost territories in Asia Minor. However, by the time it arrived, Antiochus had already agreed on peace with Egypt by marrying his daughter and the 10-year-old Ptolemy V. He claimed that as Ptolemy was his son-in-law, he was not going to fight him anymore. As negotiations continued, news arrived that the Ptolemaic king was dead. Antiochus immediately broke off talks and rushed to Ephesus, and from there to Antioch, confirming the Roman suspicions that the Seleucids wanted even more territory. We don't have all the details, but it is known that the king attempted to launch an invasion of Cyprus, but the expedition ended in failure, either due to a storm or a mutiny. Returning
Pretty interesting.
to the shore, Antiochus decided to attack Egypt directly, but received news that Ptolemy wasn't dead. The campaign was over before it began.
Yeah.
Antiochus signed a peace treaty with his son-in-law and then returned to Ephesus.
I need to like figure out what game this is. It's pretty cool.
and then returned to Ephesus. During this period, the Seleucid ruler continued using diplomacy to improve his international situation.
Let's see. Bithynia. Galatia. Bithynia. Galatia. Pontus.
Pergamon, ruled by the Attalid
Bosporan Kingdom.
dynasty, was the traditional rival of the Seleucids, and eager to change that, he attempted to marry his daughter Antiochus to its king Eumenes II. The latter came to the conclusion that an alliance with the Romans was preferable, and rejected the offer, but Antiochus was unfazed, and entered a marriage alliance with the king of Cappadocia, Ariarathes, instead. At the same time, his diplomats brought rich gifts to the Galatians, as Antiochus wanted to have the backing of the famed Celtic warriors.
Celts? How does the army of Kingdom of Celts land in Turkey? What?
An event that happened in 194 BC proves to a modern audience how interconnected the ancient world was. However, for the ancients themselves, it made the diplomatic situation even more complicated.
Yeah.
Famous Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca was
We are getting Scipio Africanus and Hannibal 0.2. With 2.0. Yeah.
exiled from his homeland and arrived at the Seleucid court in Ephesus in the hopes that he could become a mercenary commander. Antiochus received him politely, but, probably worried that Hannibal might outshine him, kept him at arm's length. The Romans, worried about Hannibal's arrival, sent their own envoys.
Yeah, they are terrified.
Trying to sow discord between the king and the exile.
Antiochus has no worries of Hannibal betraying him for the Romans. That's not happening.
Diplomats deliberately paid more attention to the latter. Understanding that this put him in danger, Hannibal told Antiochus the story of how his father, Hamilcar, compelled him to swear an oath of eternal enmity against the Romans.
Yeah.
This immediately improved the Carthaginians' standing in the court. Between 193 and 192 BC, the Romans and Seleucids continued engaging in diplomacy, mostly discussing the Seleucid presence in Europe, but the talks were going nowhere. Another regional power looking for allies was the
Laius Menipus.
Aetolian League. Fearing that the Roman alliance with their rival Achaean League was a danger, they sent envoys to Antiochus. In 192 BC, the Seleucid ruler agreed to enter an alliance and sent his representative to...
Interesting. The Aetolian League is like really like spread out here, and then you have the Achaean League right here. That's like seems pretty united.
The Aetolian Assembly. Unexpectedly, the latter passed a resolution inviting Antiochus to liberate Greece and settle affairs between the Aetolians and Romans. Although Antiochus knew that it was a move that might ignite war with the Romans, this was an offer the king couldn't refuse without losing prestige. So when the Aetolians promised that they would support him with their troops, he agreed to cross into Greece.
Ooh, nice. It's going to be interesting. The Achaean League would have no shot of winning this fight if Antiochus comes in. It obviously depends on how many men he's actually sending in.
The Roman historians claim that it was Hannibal who talked
That's dope. Damn.
Antiochus into going to war, but the former was at that point in Syria.
These boats.
The first move of the war was made by the Aetolians. Their troops killed the unpopular Spartan king Nabis, hoping to take over the city and put pressure on the Achaean League, but the locals rebelled and the invaders had to retreat. Unfortunately for the Spartans, they were left defenseless, and soon soldiers of the Achaean League entered the city and forced it to become a member of the League, ending Spartan independence forever in the process.
Sparta has fallen off. Damn. That's wild.
The Aetolians weren't discouraged though, and in order to give Antiochus a good place to land his army, they took control of the city called Demetrius, which had an excellent harbour. The king had a small navy that wasn't able to transport all of his troops, so after offering a sacrifice to the goddess Athena at Ilium, he started crossing the Aegean Sea in the autumn of 192 BC.
Okay, so Antiochus is like really, really Greek, like he believes in the Greek gods and stuff. Huh. Interesting.
As the land route from Thrace through Macedonia was rejected to not push Philip V into the anti-Seleucid camp. Antiochus disembarked at Demetrius and moved south to Lamia, where the Aetolians held their assembly. Here he was received as a liberating hero and elected the leader.
Is Philip the loser going to join Antiochus? Maybe.
Of the League. Still, the king found himself in an awkward position. The Romans had no troops in the region, and the liberator of Greece couldn't attack the Greeks, and thus the Seleucids lacked a clear military target. In an absence of one, Antiochus once again was looking for allies. First, he approached the crucial city of Chalcis, which had been garrisoned by Attalid and Achaean troops ever since the end of the Second Macedonian War.
That's like a lot of big islands in this strait here. That's insane.
The king attempted to convince the city to join him, but was rebuked, and although he had enough troops to take it by force, he decided not to shed the blood of fellow Greeks and returned to Demetrius.
What a nice guy.
Then he sent envoys to Athens, the Achaeans, Macedon, and the Athamennians. The latter were either a Greek or Hellenized tribe who rose to prominence in the turmoil of the Diadochi Wars and agreed to help, while Philip V, still reeling from his defeat at Cynocephali, was biding his time, and the Achaeans decided to retain their alliance with Rome. Things were much more dramatic on the Athenian front. The oligarchic party wanted to support the Romans.
Oligarchic.
Democratic party.
Democratic. Wow. So, like, the oligarchy is that like the rich people's party, and like democratics like maybe like the people's party, maybe.
Antiochus. The former invited the forces of the Achaean League, which led to violent street battles, during which the Seleucid supporters were defeated. Rome knew of the Seleucid activity, and the praetor Marcus Babius was sent to Apollonia with more than 20,000 Romans and Italics. Despite the fact that they outnumbered Antiochus, the Romans had no intention to look like an aggressor, so they didn't.
Antiochus didn't take more than 20,000 men with him. He took less. Wow.
Declare war, but Babius's presence was enough to keep Macedon in check. Unfortunately for the Romans, they had to support their allies, and when the garrison of Chalcis asked for reinforcements, Babius sent 500 legionaries their way. We can assume that this was the last straw for Antiochus, as he ordered his admiral Polysenidas to block the narrow Euripus Strait between Chalcis and mainland Greece, and marched south with the remainder of his army. By the time the Roman contingent reached the crossing, it was blocked by the Seleucid navy, so it continued south to wait for transports at Delium. Shortly after, This unit was surrounded and destroyed by the Seleucids, beginning the war that would
Ooh.
later be called the Seleucid War, the Syrian War, and the War of Antiochus.
Damn, it has many names. Interesting. I mean, right now, none of this is actually going on in Syria, so I think it might be more like the Seleucid War. I don't know if Antiochus obviously survives the entire war, so I don't know if that name is appropriate. But right now, I don't know how much is gonna happen in Syria.
Some sources claim that the Romans had already declared war at that point, but the message reached Antiochus after the skirmish at Delium. Still hopeful to get the Achaeans and the Pergamene to enter into an alliance with him, Antiochus allowed the garrison of Chalcis to leave under a truce. Soon the rest of Euboea capitulated to the king. His next targets were the cities of the Boeotian League, which surrendered quickly, and the Thessalian League, created by the Romans after the Second Macedonian War.
Sicilian League. Huh. Interesting.
Antiochus still attempted to negotiate. However, he noticed that the members of the League started to mobilize under the cover of these talks. So in early 191 BC, he moved swiftly and captured the League's main city, Pherae, massacring its defenders.
Ooh. I wonder when we are going to see like Hannibal fight in this war. Sure, he would love to fight some Romans again.
He then moved into the League's territory, and in a short and decisive campaign, took over.
Is that why that Hannibal was such a like thorn in Rome's side that they just couldn't forget him? That they just kept having this. They needed him dead because he kept joining their enemies.
Most of the cities in the region, save for the stronghold of Larissa, which was besieged by the Seleucids. While the siege was ongoing, Antiochus sent 2,000 men south to the field of Cynocephali. In a symbolic gesture, his soldiers buried the Greek dead, whose bones remained on the battlefield. By doing that, the Seleucid ruler was trying to show how full of piety he was in comparison to the barbarous Romans.
Yeah. What kind of helm is that, by the way? Jesus.
And how much more he cared for their fellow Hellenes than Philip. The latter considered this gesture a direct insult and declared his allegiance to Rome. Fabius immediately entered negotiations.
I mean, do you really need Philip? I think you guys can get the sense that I'm not really a fan of this guy, but like, he doesn't have any soldiers left. Like, the guy is just like a broken tool at this point. He has no value whatsoever.
With the Macedonian king gaining the right of military access.
Claudius.
2,000-strong legionary detachment under Appius Claudius was sent south, probably as a reconnaissance force. The details are unclear, but apparently the Roman commander arrived at Tempe and built a larger camp full of extra campfires to exaggerate his numbers. Although sources assume that
Smart. That's pretty smart.
Antiochus was tricked into thinking that the Roman Macedonian attack was imminent and raised the siege. It was probably due to the weather and supply situation. In any case, he soon started his retreat to Chalcis. Both sides were now waiting for spring.
Joe, that's such a pretty beautiful city. Or village. Doesn't look that big though.
In Chalcis, Antiochus decided that another dynastic marriage was in order, but this time he tied a knot himself with a daughter of a local noble, perhaps to prove to the minor Greek nobles who ruled in the majority of city-states that he was on their side. Such royal marriages were common in the East, but backfired with the locals, who considered sexual activity detrimental to war-making.
I did not know that about the Greeks. Huh, interesting. I always thought that this idea of marriage for power kind of came from the Greeks. Hmm, interesting. I really need to learn more about the Greek leagues and stuff like that. How they were formed and yeah, learn a little bit more about the culture. I really don't know as much about the Greeks as I thought I would.
Additionally, during the celebrations, the Greeks were once again shocked by the practice of their Macedonian brethren of drinking undiluted wine, and the king's participation in this activity further.
Wait a second. Undiluted wine. Okay, so undiluted basically just means it's not mixed with water to make it
Wine,
more drinkable, I guess, less stronger.
and the king's participation in this activity further diminished his standing. During his stay on the island, Antiochus continued to look for allies, but gained none. He
Okay.
also sent messengers to Asia, ordering reinforcements.
That's pretty wild, that he will have such a hard time getting allies, especially because of how strong of an empire he has.
The Romans were not idle. The alliance with the Achaean League, Pergamon, and Rhodes was confirmed, and the consul of the year, a supporter of Scipio, Manius Acilius Glabrio, was to lead a new 15,000-man army to Greece. In a show of how crucial this war was for the Romans, two ex-consuls, Marcus Porcius Cato and Valerius Flaccus, were chosen by him as the legates. It is also remarkable that both legates belonged to Flamininus's party, which meant that the rival parties put their differences aside to defeat Antiochus.
Interesting.
While the main army was crossing the Adriatic,
Damn.
Cato landed in the Peloponnese.
That's so many generals they are sending to Greece. They have Catus, they have Baius, Glabrio, Flacius.
And went on a diplomatic tour of Achaia and Athens, sarcastically claiming that Antiochus wages war through letters and fights with pen and ink.
Ooh.
Before Glabrio reached Illyria
Attack him. Destroy him.
in March, Baebius and Philip V started their campaign against the Seleucid garrisons in Thessaly. The only major
Send word to Hannibal. He can take them.
Roman force in the region were the Athamanians, and they were defeated quickly, followed by the Seleucid garrisons, which negated all the gains Antiochus made in his campaign in Thessaly. Antiochus, meanwhile, consolidated his forces in Boeotia and then moved west towards Acarnania to take control of it and put pressure on the Epirotes in order to add their troops to him.
Wouldn't that kind of trap him, though? I don't know if that's a good idea. There's really no... I mean, yeah, you can go to the sea, obviously. You can take, from Argos or this place. But it takes a while to, evacuate an army.
Acarnania was also important in terms of gaining a port in the Ionian Sea and to cut the direct line between Italy and the Achaean League. The city of Medion joined the Seleucid cause via diplomatic pressure. However, the Romans now had more than 35,000 troops in the area and were supported by a 5,000-strong army from Philip.
Yeah, and I still don't really know how many soldiers Antiochus has.
So the Acarnanians and Epirotes declared their support for them. Antiochus's army, even with the additions of the Aetolians, numbered less than 20,000. There were no allies to find in.
Even with the Aetolians, he still doesn't have 20,000. Dude. Come on.
Greece, and no reinforcements from Asia were coming soon, possibly due to the allied Rhodian and Attalid activity in the Aegean Sea.
Really?
Outnumbered 2 to 1,
Just send, like, I saw there was, like, the Straits of, at, like, the Black Sea. Just sent Hannibal up there with the entire army and then just conquer the entire Greece from the north. While you hold these guys in the south.
he couldn't stay in Aetolia. And
By the way, what's up with Cato's nose? Not judging, just curious.
as the Roman march south was now threatening his supply and retreat lines. At the same time, he didn't want to abandon the Aetolians. Initially,
I need to Google that nose. That's insane. Okay, the reason that his nose is broken is because the portrait that the kings and generals are using for his character is a statue in Copenhagen, my capital, and apparently his nose on the statue was broken. So that's why it looks like that.
the allies decided to defend at Lamia, but that would have given the Romans an opportunity to outflank them. So in a true Hellenic fashion, Antiochus moved for Thermopylae. This famous location had seen numerous last stands
Yeah, Thermopylae, isn't that where 300 is happening?
before and after April 191.
It is like way more open than I thought than it showed like in the movies. Huh.
91 BC, as it was a natural choke point, defended by Mount Calidromos and Mount Tychius
Heraclea.
from the southwest, and the waters of the Malian Gulf from the northeast. Still, as Leonidas and Xerxes discovered 300 years before, this seemingly ideal defensive position had a fatal flaw. A small army could have bottlenecked a far larger force in the passage, but the mountains had numerous paths, making it possible to outflank the defenders. Both armies were
Yeah, it looks way more open than I thought it would be. Like, that's like a lot of areas you can like outmaneuver your opponent. Like, kind of takes a lot of the dope things about that place away. I think.
culturally steeped in Greek history and mythos, so obviously knew of this. With a few thousand Aetolians left to guard the crucial town of Heraclea,
Why wouldn't you just take it up at the river here, like next to the city? Instead, like, this would have been like way better. Like, come on.
Antiochus had around 12,000 footmen and only 500 horsemen. As the Roman cavalry outnumbered their counterparts 4 to 1, the Seleucids had to fight.
I would have been such an amazing general in that time period. I just see all of the stupid mistakes these kings are making. Like, I would not have made those mistakes. Like,
At the narrow passage to avoid being outflanked. The king sent 2 groups of Aetolians, 1,000 hoplites apiece, to block off the most prominent mountain paths. Then he built a wall covering the gate, placing a few catapults and ballistae on top. His skirmishers were positioned on the high ground to the left of the passage in order to send their missiles against the advancing Romans, while his phalangites
again, it's not a bad idea, but you would have been way better near the river to do that.
formed up in front of the walls with the peltasts ahead of them.
Yo, those spears. I can't see how those spears are that effective. They're extremely tough to wield. Oh my god.
Similarly, the Romans had 2/3 of their troops present, with the rest defending Thessaly and blockading Heraclea. Glabrio knew that he couldn't capture the passage against a phalanx, but still had to attack at the narrow choke point and tie up the Seleucid forces.
They have so many
Group,
soldiers.
Cato and Flaccus, each 2,000 legionaries strong.
Like, you can't win this fight. Like, holy damn.
Were sent to take the mountain passes. According to some sources, The Roman camp was raided by the nearby Aetolians before the battle, so Glabrio was forced to leave his cavalry and a group of infantry to defend it.
Oh, they would have been pretty useless in this fight anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
Sources depicting the battle are somewhat conflicted. We know that Flaccus was ordered to take the pass at Mount Tychius during the night.
Yeah.
There are authors who suggest that this unit lost its way during the march, while another claims that the Romans met the Aetolians, but the hoplites were steadfast and the legionaries weren't able to break through,
Wow.
losing dozens of troops and falling back.
Damn.
Cato's onslaught against the Aetolians at Mount Calidromos was more successful.
Okay.
Apparently, the Romans caught some of the Aetolians asleep, and their first strike killed many. But soon the hoplites managed to form a line across the pass, and neither side had an advantage.
Interesting. So the legionaries are actually having a tough time with the hoplites. Interesting.
Simultaneously, the main Roman force attacked head-on. The volleys of the skirmishers and peltasts did a certain amount of damage, but the disciplined Romans locked their shields and continued moving forward, even despite the losses caused by the field artillery.
Yeah, the way you are so outnumbered, those catapults need to hit their target every time.
Seeing that the Romans were getting close, Antiochus ordered his peltasts to fall back, while his pikemen moved forward, forming a phalanx. That is where the Romans suffered most of their casualties, as the legionnaires weren't able to reach the phalangites, and it was impossible for them to outflank the foe. Slowly but surely, the phalanx pushed the legion back.
Yeah, that's what we like. He still needs more men here, because if these soldiers fall, the fight is over. Like, we're gonna see, it's gonna happen like it happened with Philip. But yeah, like, in the straight up fight, I don't know why they're so good. Like, Romans have big shield, you can just like push forward with the shield. How are those long spears that effective? Like, I don't get.
However, by the early morning, the forces of Cato started to gain the
Yeah.
upper hand near Calidromos, as he outnumbered the Aetolians 4-1 and was able to rotate fresh troops into the fray. Eventually, the Romans broke the hoplite line and sent it fleeing in terror. Shortly, both groups were on the plain, with the legionaries killing their foes in pursuit. The phalanx learned that its rear was now in danger, and even though the king made brave attempts to stop them, fled to the camp in order to form another formation.
No.
Still, Cato's detachment entered the camp before the Seleucids, and the main body of the Romans shortly after.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. It's gonna be a slaughter. I don't know why Antiochus took such a small force with him. Like, the guy has a massive empire. Like, dude. Like, take 7,000 more men with you. Like, this is so stupid.
So the phalangites failed to get into formation. It was now every man for himself. Antiochus abandoned his forces with his cavalry, and more than
Yo, that purple cape looks so amazing.
10,000 Seleucids and Aetolians were either killed or taken captive. Livy claims that the Romans lost 200 men, but this number is probably understated. After finishing off the survivors, the Romans took a day to rest and then turned their attention against Heraclea, a formidable fortress with its south protected by the river Asopos and its west by Mount Oeta, and a citadel on low hills.
Yeah,
The
it's pretty well
fortress was
defended.
relatively modest in size, so a small Aetolian garrison
This is what you call being outnumbered. Wow.
was able to man the whole wall.
Yeah, just surrender. Like, it's over.
At the same time, the walls were short, which meant that the Romans weren't able to use their decisive numerical superiority. Glabrio sent a message to the leader of the garrison, Democritus, demanding they surrender.
Yeah, just surrender, dude. Like, it's over.
But this was refused, so the Romans prepared for a siege and started
Yo, the balls.
constructing battering rams. When the siege began, the legionaries assaulted the walls with rams and ladders, but the narrowness of the front didn't allow them to overwhelm the Aetolians, and the latter sallied out, burning some of the rams and shoving the enemy back with their spears. The
Damn.
first assault failed. However, the Romans had more troops, so fresh troops were sent forth, and the
Yeah, they can just rotate between the soldiers constantly and just keep the Italians on their feet. Like, it's over.
walls were attacked on the next day. The garrison didn't have this luxury, which meant that each subsequent assault tired them even more. This continued for 23 days, but eventually Glabrio devised a plan. His
Whoa, imagine fighting straight for 23 days like that.
soldiers were ordered to return to the camp, making it look like there would be no attack. This made the exhausted Aetolians complacent, and they vacated the walls to sleep in the houses. Late at night, a group of legionaries was ordered to attack a portion of the walls and make as much noise as possible. Glabrio also commanded his legate Tiberius Sempronius to move his contingent to another sector of the fortifications.
Oh.
The noise woke up the Aetolians and they started running, reaching the walls in time to rebuke the Romans, but the other group was already scaling the ramparts using ladders. Seeing that, the Aetolians vacated their positions and retreated to the citadel.
Yeah.
The Roman commander allowed his soldiers to loot the city, but after it was done, began devising plans to take the citadel.
Yeah. They honestly fought way better than I thought they would. Like, the Italians had way bigger balls than the Seleucid. Man, I don't get these kings, like.
His engineers started building siege engines on the nearby hill to bombard the defenders, while the rest of the troops formed up surrounding them. The Aetolians had almost no food left, but most importantly, no way to counter the catapults, so Democritus capitulated. We don't have the numbers, but it is possible that the Romans lost more troops taking Heraclea than during the Battle of Thermopylae.
Oh, yo, shots fired at Antiochus. Damn. Oh, yeah.
After the defeat
Yeah,
at Thermopylae, the king retreated
How is he called the Great? I don't know yet.
to Chalcis. There was a possibility he could defend the island of Euboea and keep it as a foothold, but it was scrapped when Glabrio moved south, forcing the Boeotian League to submit, and the Roman navy, commanded by Aulus Atilius, destroyed the Seleucid supply convoy around Andros. So the king started his journey back to Asia in May of 191 BC.
When are we going to see some Hannibal action?
Many reasons Antiochus was defeated in Greece, but it boils down to these key factors.
Not enough soldiers.
Roman diplomacy and logistics were superior, while the majority of Greeks didn't buy into the notion that the Seleucid king was liberating them from the Romans, and even his Aetolian allies didn't commit all of their forces.
They kind of fought harder than him, I gotta say, like the Italians weren't like, it wasn't like they weren't committed to this. Like, yeah, they were the last guy standing.
Glabrio did not have a force big enough to follow the king across the sea, and he had to concentrate against the Aetolians. He moved north again and took Lamia, putting even more pressure on the League. The latter sent messengers to Antiochus in June, asking for him to return or send money so that they could continue fighting. Money wasn't a problem for the wealthy king, so the envoys returned to Greece with funds.
Interesting.
Despite the fact that the money helped the Aetolians regain their resolve, The Seleucid cause in Greece was getting weaker. The small garrisons of Demetrius and Elis were forced to evacuate, with Elis and Messenia falling into Achaean control, while Glabrio besieged Naupactos deep inside Aetolian territory in July. The siege continued for 2 months, but then Flamininus arrived and yet again negotiated a ceasefire.
Okay.
Aetolian messengers and Flamininus then travelled to Rome in the hopes of signing a peace treaty, while Glabrio's army went to its winter quarters.
Winter quarters. Didn't know winter was that bad in this area. Okay. It's pretty ballsy of the Aetolians to they're like, yo, just send us some money and we keep fighting. Like, Antiochus needs to send a massive army to Greece if he wants to keep this war going.
Meanwhile, events were transpiring on the sea. Seleucid Admiral Polysenidas had around 40 warships and 60 smaller vessels, and he was ordered by Antiochus to watch out for a possible naval invasion, while the king himself moved with 30,000 troops to Lysimachia
Now you can send an army that size.
to defend his gains in Thrace. The details are scarce, but by August, Polysenidas had around 2.
Why is he not taking that army to Greece? Like, you have allies in Greece. Like, just make a new attack.
100 ships,
Go take Athens.
70 of them bigger warships, probably quadriremes. The new Roman admiral in the area was the praetor Gaius Livius Salinato. He took command of the navy, which had been in the docks ever since the Second Punic Wars, and started sailing to unite with Attilius's navy.
Livius.
This was before the ceasefire was agreed upon. Livius raided the Aetolian-controlled Kephallonia and Zakynthos along the way, putting even more pressure on the League. In August he reached Attica, and his fleet now had more than 100 vessels, 80 of them large warships.
Damn, that's a lot of ships, honestly. That's gonna be a problem. It's crazy to see how how much Rome has changed in such a short time period. Like, when you think about it, even the first Punic War was not that long ago. We saw how different Rome was at that time period. It was also the second Punic War. They were just throwing men into a meat grinder. Now they are doing all kinds of politics. They are strategizing. They are playing it smart. Interesting. It's really, really wild to see how quickly Rome has adapted.
Both sides knew what they had to do. The Romans needed to unite with their Pergamene and Rhodian allies to have equal numbers, while Polysenidas's best hope to win was to prevent that from happening and take on each of the enemies separately. In September, the Seleucid Navarch learned that the Attalids had repositioned their navy to Elaea, and that Livius was to the north of Delos, and he decided to move himself to Phocaea. However, at some point he lost the Roman fleet and assumed that it turned south to join the Rhodians, so he went for Samos. This was a mistake, as a week or so later, the
Pokemon, I never actually heard about them. I'm pretty curious about them too. There's a lot of kingdoms I never heard about.
Romans coalesced with the Pergamene navy commanded by King Eumenes II, bringing their total to 160.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Get away from them. Don't engage them.
The allies started chasing Polysenidas and caught him off the coast of Chios at a place called Kissus. In a short battle, the Seleucid fleet lost 23 ships and was forced to retreat. Even defeated, Polysenidas was undeterred and sailed fast towards Samos, where he managed to surprise the Rhodian fleet and destroy 24 vessels. However, the effects of this victory were small. The Allied fleet was on its way, and
I mean, victory is a victory, right? Like, maybe you can combine 5 small victory with like a couple of big victories.
another navy from Rhodes under Eudorus was converging on Polysenides from the south, so he
Who's
took
that?
the only remaining safe route to Ephesus.
Eurydorus, isn't he Antiochus' ally? I think he is.
Attacking a navy in a dock protected by land artillery is always folly, so the Romans just blockaded Polysenides for now.
Can I just ask something here? What's Hannibal? Why has he not been put on the field yet?
Same time, the Republic was planning to invade Asia Minor in 190 BC, so the Attalid king was asked to secure the Hellespont. Eumenes' approach to the Hellespont put Antiochus into another awkward position. He wanted to keep Gallipoli in order to continue putting pressure on Philip V, but with his navy blockaded in Ephesus and with no way to counter the Attalid fleet, there was a danger that Antiochus wouldn't be able to return to Asia Minor, especially since the kingdom of Bithynia and the city of Byzantium were, despite not joining the war, pro-Roman.
Is this Turkey? Sorry. What is the capital of Turkey? Don't remember now. But yeah, I think it's that city.
And could have prevented the king's army from crossing the Bosporus. So the king moved back to Asia Minor and then started his march towards Ephesus, as he needed to defend the city in case of Polysenides' total defeat.
Yeah.
Antiochus detached his heir Seleucus to attack Pergamon, while a group of Galatians Aea. By that time, another Roman praetor, Lucius Aemilius Regulus, took over the fleet, and he was forced to send a portion of his navy to defend Elaea, which was crucial for the Attalid war effort, while Eumenes rushed to his capital. Again, we don't know all the details, but it seems that both Seleucid forces were largely successful in their raiding, but not strong enough to take either city.
Yeah.
The campaign ended when a small Achaean contingent landed near Elaea and defeated the Galatians besieging it. Seleucus returned to his father, but overall, this short campaign alleviated the pressure on Polysenides enough.
It's crazy that Pergamon, such a small country, like kingdom, can like withstand the Seleucids like that.
For when Antiochus sent envoys,
like how do some of those kingdoms even survive this long?
To Aemilius to negotiate a peace treaty, the Romans really considered the offer and only declined after being influenced by Eumenes.
Oh,
the Seleucid lead
balls. He's like, nah, we're not gonna have peace. I'm gonna fight through the end.
Needed his fleet
Respect.
to break out, so a message was sent to Seleucia Pieria ordering Hannibal to move his navy towards the blockade. We don't know what the king was thinking when he appointed a brilliant general who had never led a navy to command one. But
Really? The Phoenicians were like master in the sea. Huh. Interesting. I thought Hannibal would be like have like a lot of experience with the sailing, because like Carthaginians were extremely good at sea battles.
apparently, the
I actually wonder how has sea battles changed in this time period? Because like in the Punic War, we saw like they had like these huge bronze rams in front of the ships to like destroy the ship, right? But we saw earlier with a really cool ship they had like statues in front. Like how's the sea battles changed at this point? Like, do they still just crash into each other, or is this like a boarding period now?
Carthaginian used his knowledge of Phoenician history and phenomenal organizational skills to form a strong 50-vessel navy in less than 2 years. His movement west was noticed by the Allies, and a portion of the Rhodian fleet was sent to intercept him before Hannibal reached their home island.
Okay.
The two navies met to the southeast of modern Antalya, at a place called Eurymedon. We don't have the specifics, but Hannibal's fleet was defeated, and he retired to Syria.
Wait. What? Please don't tell me this is the end of Hannibal. Okay? Please, 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 please. Don't tell me I'm not going to see Hannibal fight again. Okay. Kings and generals. If this is the end of Hannibal, why did you even bother to put him into the story?
Ironically, this naval battle would be the last ever fought by the great Carthaginian general. With half of the Allied navy on different missions, the fleets near Ephesus were now equal in size. It is not clear if Aemilius broke it off due to the lack of resources, or in order to lure Polysenidas out, but when the Romans left to raid nearby Teos, the Seleucid Navarch also sailed out in the hopes of surprising the enemy.
Okay.
However, at the Battle of Myanessus, the heavier Roman ships and their boarding tactics proved...
Boarding tactics. So they are boarding now, not crashing into each other, or is what was it called? The bridge thing the Romans built. It was the Corvus. The Corvus. It was called.
To be superior yet again. Polysenidas was forced to disengage after losing a third of his navy.
I don't think they're using the Corvus when they have like such a long journey.
Returned to Ephesus. After this battle, the Seleucids were outnumbered 4-1 in the sea, which meant that the Romans could cross into Asia Minor without resistance. Antiochus was aware of this fact and started concentrating his forces around Ephesus.
Okay.
In the aftermath of the Battle of Thermopylae, the political parties of the Eternal City returned to their bickering. During the elections of 190 BC, Scipio's party strengthened its position, and 2 of its members became consuls.
Are we going to see Scipio do something at least?
One of them, the brother of Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, another veteran of the Second Punic War, Lucius Cornelius. On top of that, Africanus managed to get his brother the command in Greece and Asia Minor, with himself as a legate.
We are going to see Scipio. Nice.
War party, the Scipios also rebuked the attempts of the Aetolians and Flamininus to achieve peace.
Alright. This is going to be the end of part 4. We're about to see Scipio get into the fray. And I'm so excited because, damn, was I disappointed in Hannibal's... yeah, I was just kind of really disappointed in Hannibal's part of the war here. That kind of sucked, honestly. At least we're going to see Scipio, the man, the bald, get into the fray, and I'm really excited for this. So yeah, if you guys want to check out some more videos with Kings and Generals, I have the link for the previous video up on the screen. If you guys want to check out some myths and mythology, we have some overly sarcastic deduction with the Red, which is, she's absolutely amazing at that. I'll have the original link down in the description for Kings and Generals. Absolutely amazing channel with history, a lot of amazing details. I have no idea how long this takes to long this takes to make such a long video and such a detailed video with like animation from a video game. That's really, really, really cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See ya.
Great day. I don't need a reason. Sky so blue. I just call it freedom. Little bit of light in the cracks of the ceiling. Great day, great day. That's the feeling. It's a great day. All my doubts fade out. Turn my worries down. Let my hope stay loud. Might be small things, but my heart keeps saying great day, great day. I'm staying. Email storms, boss on my back, lunch at my desk, crumbs on a stack. Still I find a joke in the copy machine. Paper jam dance like a backstage scene. Text from a friend, proud of you. Random as a rain, but it cuts right through. I save that line like a secret stash. Pull it out when the colors start turning to ash. It's a great day. I don't need a reason. Sky so blue. I just call it freedom. Little bit of light in the cracks of the ceiling. Great day, great day. That's the feeling. It's a great day. All my doubts fade out. Turn my worries down. Let my hope stay loud. Might be small things, but my heart keeps saying great day, great day. I'm staying. Maybe it all goes sideways later. Maybe the plan falls apart on paper.